Fully loaded. The Fully Loaded Show. Welcome to the Fully Loaded Show with your hosts, JC Cornell and Max Cavalier.
Week 7, I am back. Bucs fully loaded. Happy Thursday. We've got Bucs versus Falcons. It's your host, Max Cavalieri. With me, as always, JC Cornell and Samar Ali. What's going on, gentlemen?
Welcome back.
Welcome
back, Max.
Well, go for it, Samar.
Welcome back, Max.
You're lucky. You're lucky I took my PTO day on Tuesday. I will leave it at that.
Yeah, I mean, you had a big opportunity to make some serious statements, but we live by the 24-hour rule here, so that's not going to happen, and we're moving on to the Falcons.
Fair enough. Touche. So, boys, you've got the Falcons this weekend. The spread is actually a little bit closer than I thought it was going to be. So I guess we'll just kick it off like always. The brains behind the Bucs. What do you need to see this weekend for you guys to get the job done? I mean, what are you really focusing in on?
I'll start first. I think Baker Mayfield and Mike Evans need to have a big bounce back game. Kind of make the haters furious. Play outstanding football. You know, Mike Evans touchdown in this game. Baker being back to how Baker's been playing before in this season, and just like I said, shut the haters up.
Yeah, I agree with JC. This is setting itself up to be a very good bounce back opportunity for the Bucs as a whole, but not just Baker getting back on track, Mike Evans getting back on track, but also let's see Chris Godwin again. Let's get Chris Godwin rolling. I think he's scored more touchdowns against the Falcons than he has against the Panthers and the Saints combined since he's come into the league. So he does seem to play well against Atlanta, whether it's at home or in Atlanta. But on the defensive side too, it's setting itself up for a game where the Bucs should be able to play, hopefully, from whistle to whistle the entire game. Good defensively, like all the way top to bottom. Play the entire game well. Don't have 3 or 4 minutes here where you kind of get lazy and you give up a touchdown or you give up a long play. I'd like to see a complete game from the defense, and this is kind of the game that seems to be setting itself up for that scenario to play out.
Samar, we talked about on the last episode, the defense didn't cause any turnovers this last game, this last loss. Yeah. I think it's crucial for this defense to have some turnovers because Ridder, the Falcons quarterback, is graded the worst quarterback in the NFL. You got to make this guy make mistakes. Kalijah Cansey, Shaq Barrett, JTS, get after him fast, make him make some poor decisions, get some interceptions. Antoine Winfield still doesn't have an interception on this year. This could be the week. So we just got to force some turnovers on the worst quarterback in the NFL.
They have
go ahead.
Sorry, I was going to add to what JC was saying, Max. They have the 27th worst turnover margin as a team. They're -6. So Ridder is still playing sort of like a rookie. Last week, I believe he turned the ball over to end the game when he had a chance to win the game. So, it plays into the Bucs defensive hands in terms of being able to get after him, stop the run, which they've done against every single team but the Eagles, and they are the Eagles. So go in there, stop the run, and put the ball in Ridder's hands, like you're saying, JC, and just get after him. And he's going to make mistakes. He's not, like I've been saying all season, I think he's a high school quarterback, and I'm going to stick to that. He's a high school quarterback. Put it in his hands and let him give you the ball. And I think the Bucs will have a good 2 to 3 turnover opportunities here, and they should be able to capitalize on them.
Would you guys agree with me, though, that you guys are going to see a much better defense this weekend than you did last weekend?
I mean, the Lions played great defense last week. They have some ballers on that defense.
I'm not going to disagree, but wouldn't you agree that the Falcons have a much better defense than the Lions? Not much better, but a better defense.
I mean, they're ranked better, yes.
So following up from that, and I know this is kind of you can answer it either way. Would you want to see more out of your offense going into this weekend or more out of your defense? What's more important to you? Like, are you more questioning going into this weekend that you need the offense to ball out or the defense to ball out? Because last weekend, in my eyes, was rough to watch.
So the Falcons are averaging 17.8 points scored per game. I mean, that kind of falls in the lap of what Todd Bowles likes to preach, 17 points. That's what the max you give up and you win the games. That's kind of a tough question to say with the offense or the defense to ball out. I think they both need to ball out. And we just need to come together as a team and have a really good, solid team victory.
They have
So
a
what are your
fourth
guys-
ranked defense. So Max, I kind of see what Max is trying to allude to, but when you watch them play and you compare them to kind of what the Lions do, I'm not afraid of them kind of getting after us. I will say that it's more important for me to see the Buccaneers offense bounce back, only because of how bad they looked last week, how disconnected, how from a play calling standpoint, all the way down to the execution on the field. We need to see them do better and play better. And listen, they have the fourth ranked total defense, but they give up about 20 points a game, and they're only scoring, like JC said, 17 points a game. So the Bucs should be able to handle taking care of business here, and it does set itself up for an opportunity for the Bucs to use the play action and kind of get after these guys. They have a decent secondary. Can't really name a lot. They don't have a lot of household names necessarily, but if you can keep them off your pass, you should be able to kind of dink and dunk and take advantage of things down the field. Go ahead, JC.
So you think this is going to be a lower scoring game or a high scoring game?
I mean, what's the over-under? I think this could be a pretty low-scoring game because I think the Bucs defense contains this offense. I think, we talked about Ritter being the worst quarterback in the NFL. Bijan Robinson is not the worst running back in the NFL. He's electric. So you got to contain that guy. If you can contain Bijan, you have a pretty good chance of being a low-scoring game because you're not giving up any points.
Yeah,
Obviously, you're going to eat the clock up as well. So
yeah.
Well, part of eating the clock up was my next point. This Bucs running game, it has to find some life in this game. We got to get things going. Whether it's Rashad White, whether it's Sneak Vaughn, whether Sean Tucker gets some reps, we got to find the running game. We got to see some positives in the running game. Or like I said in the last episode, I think if you don't, then it's time to maybe give another guy a chance and trade for a guy like Rashad Penny from the Philadelphia Eagles, who's buried on the depth chart, who's 230 pounds. And even if he has guys in his face, he can still churn some yards.
Mix it up.
Out. Yeah. Like mix it up a little bit.
The Falcons. Go ahead, Max. Go ahead.
So no, go ahead, because I'm gonna switch.
I was just gonna say that they do have, they give up about I think 99 to 100 yards a game. The Falcons on the ground. So this is kind of the Bucs did have one game this season where they kind of got close to that. So I'd like to see them establish a run, but more importantly, I think I want to see them establish just a rhythm on offense. Let me see your pass set up your run. And Todd Bowles said something that was very important last week at the end of the game where he said we need to spread things out and try to run out of spread out formations. Let's make the defense get out of the stacked box. If there's 7-8 guys in the box, let's do something about that. Let's spread it out and make them spread themselves out, and then you don't have to run into those boxes. And if you do, you have the opportunity to audible and make changes at the line and attack, the defensive weaknesses that they're going to create when they do that. The Lions did that the entire day. And so I don't anticipate the Falcons not looking at that and saying, let's do the same thing. And hopefully the Bucs are prepared and they say, listen, let's change things up and let's use the play action game early. Let's let the pass set up the run. And I think they'll have more success doing that. You don't have to have a juggernaut of a running attack to run well in the NFL. You just have to know when and how to approach the running game to set things up from the opposite side, which is the passing game. So that's a big part of this game.
You nailed it right there. Yeah, you nailed it right there. You've got to use the pass to set up the run. You have to, especially in 2023, the way the NFL is. But this is something that I wanted to bring up. We've talked about it earlier in the year with, the Eagles is a big game. Last week was a big game. I think this is your guys' biggest game of the year because the division is tightening up and your guys' schedule moving forward is tough the next few weeks. So when you got 3 teams in the mix in the NFC South, and if you drop the ball on this one, it's tough for the season. I'm not saying it's your toughest opponent. I'm not saying it's your biggest test. I'm saying to date, this is the most important game for you guys.
And on top of that, if you look at the percentages, if the Buccaneers win this game and go to 4-2, 72% of 4-2 teams in the NFL make the playoffs.
Yeah.
And everybody's you got 3 teams for 3 wins? It's you, Falcons, and Saints right now, right? So that's my point. I'm not saying it's the biggest test, but this is the biggest game thus far this season for me.
It's big. It's because it's a divisional game too. So it's not necessarily that it's coming at, to keep the lead in the NFC South. It's a big division game. You got to win those when you have them. And then kind of on top of that too, every game is technically the game of the week for every team. That's how they kind of approach it. Right. So I don't know if this game is circled, but bad taste in the mouth last week. I think the offensive side of the ball is very embarrassed, and they want to go out there and kind of, put something that they're going to be proud of on tape and, for the fans. And I think that, again, this game is set up for that. They're going to be going into a matchup that I think they should be able to handle. They should be able to win. And, if you take away that running game, which the Bucs have done to every opponent but the Eagles, and this Falcons offensive line is not the Eagles, JC. So I think you agree with me that although he's an electric running back, we've shut down many electric running backs since Todd Bowles has gotten here. It's got to be more than that. You got to be able to block our guys to beat us. It's not about the running back necessarily. And we've seen guys who aren't electric, if they get good blocking in front, they gash us. So I think it all starts there. And like we talked about earlier, just put the ball in Ritter's hands and let our playmakers in the secondary and Devin White, let those guys get after him and make plays, man. I think that game sets us up for that.
So, Sam, let me ask you this. JC made a comment about, he thinks it'd be good to make a move before the deadline for a back. Right now, do you think the Bucs need to make any type of move before the deadline? Right now?
Any type of move? I mean... Yes.
Do you guys trade for any position? Do you, in your eyes right now?
I understand the notion of what JC's trying to, the idea behind it. It's go spend a nothing type of pick on a guy that can come in and, can at least maybe try to get you some yardage, can possibly help when he's got guys in his face in the backfield and change things up a bit. And I'm not in disagreement with that. If people are hearing him say trade for Rashaad Penny and Rashad's going to be a starter and he's going to be the guy that you're going to turn into your bell cow, that's never happened in the NFL since he's gotten here.
No.
He didn't say
no.
It's change of pace. This is just a change of pace.
No, I agree.
I'm saying Rashad's RB1 and will be.
Finish this question though.
No, I'm just saying, but no, this is a change of pace. This is not.
No, I agree with you, JC. I'm addressing the people who are going to hear you and attempt to turn it into that, because that's definitely not what you're implying, and I agree. And so, in that sense, that's really the only type of move I could see them making. I don't see them going and finding an offensive lineman. Me, JC talked about this. You're not going to – these guys aren't just hanging out ready to be traded if they're good players. The offensive line and defensive linemen, those guys are far and few between in terms of their skill. They're not going to be handed out. So Bucs aren't going to do that. They're not going to go make a move for, some top-notch safety or corner or anything like that. It's going to be little moves like this, something like this. And at the end of the day, I think the running game still – the bigger issue for me is the run blocking as opposed to the guys behind it. When we talked to Albright earlier this week, he sat through the the Denver Broncos offensive line play for years where they would just put anybody back there and he became a fantasy stud that week because they knew how to block the scheme and they knew how to execute on those run plays. And that's the bigger problem for me with the Bucs right now.
All right. Now let me just pose a hypothetical question. Let's say you guys crap the bed again rushing this week. Does that change your sense of urgency with maybe making a move at the deadline, or do you still feel the same exact way?
I'd still feel the same.
You guys are what, fourth to last?
Well, I mean, this is kind of what I just said. I said if they have a bad rushing game again against the Falcons, I think that's when it's time to think about a guy like Rashaad Penny and bring him in the rotation. Just some fresh legs.
Yeah, different look,
fresh legs, bigger guy.
I think
the other
thing I was going to say is I think. Sorry, Max. I didn't mean to cut you off, man.
No, we're all excited.
I was going to say the thing that would give me more of a sense of urgency to do is if I'm at this part of the season right now and this offensive line still hasn't figured out how to create enough holes and opportunities for my guys behind it, regardless of the running back, I have to start thinking about implementing some of the schemes and blocking, and rushing plays that they've done before my arrival. If I'm Dave Canales, like I've got to think about it in a different way. I've got to go to Goody and I've got to go to my guys who've been here beforehand and be like, well, what have you guys been doing? They did this against the Saints. They talked about they had more duo blocking schemes against the Saints, and they ran the ball more effectively. Was it a great day? No, but it was more effective and it was efficient. And that's where it kind of matters. You don't need 150 yards from your guy every week. You just need it to be efficient when it matters and when you pull the trigger on that play. I think it's time to maybe think, maybe bringing some old elements into this and seeing if the guys operate better in a different way as they kind of move along and learn this. And Canal set this up, JC, in the offseason that he was going to take a little bit of time. These guys are learning not only a new blocking scheme, but a whole new offense, and they're digesting it in bite-sized pieces. So to expect them to be 31 points a game in week 5, 6, 7, that may be crazy, but in this game, there's no reason they don't score 24, 27 points. This is not This is not, a top contender in the NFC or the NFL. So they should be able to get back on track if they can do things right. And it doesn't take much, man. You just need to get the ball to bounce your way and just throw motion. I mean, energy, a lot of stuff.
I was going to say another thing I wanted to see that Canales did not do against the Lions, but succeeded with against the Saints was the jet sweeps to Devin Tompkins. Like, why did that
Creative
just suddenly
playbook.
disappear?
Yeah.
Like, that was so effective. We were getting first downs, like rolling down the field. I don't know where the creativity went last game. Maybe they were just overthinking playing this Lions team, but we got to get back to that creative game plan that he had when, we were all so excited. Like, that was Canales' best game calling as an offensive coordinator. We need to get back to that stuff.
It wasn't a surprise that creativity and all that motion and all that eye candy and that misdirection didn't also end up generating one of our better rushing games of the year, because you're forcing the linebackers, the safeties, you're forcing these guys to wait a second, to play on their heels and have to sit back and, digest the play before attacking. When you've got 7 guys in the box, you hand the ball off to Rashad, it doesn't matter how creative your handoff is, he's going to get tackled because you guys are lining up and going downhill right against us. You're not going to win that 9 times out of 10. Doesn't matter what team you are, unless you're the Eagles or the Niners even. And we saw the Niners kind of get stuffed last week as well. So you got to get creative. You've got to be able to stretch things out and create mismatches and create misdirection and use the defensive speed against them. If they are fast and they're getting after you, make them go the opposite direction. It's very simple. The Bucs defense had to face this for years in the Warren Sapp, Derek Brooks era, but they were just so fast they could even play beyond that. But just again, creativity, like you talked about in that Saints game, was what was missing from the Lions game plan altogether.
And also, we say what we say about how bad Byron Leftwich was, and we talked about Chris Godwin earlier on the podcast. I wouldn't mind seeing some of those quick screens to Godwin that we used to do, just to get a flow going, completions, easy completions. I
would love to see the Bucs run out of shotgun formation the entire damn game and air it out. I swear, I would love to see that.
That's just not Canales'.
It's not Canales' memo, but I'm telling you, I would love to see that. Set up the screen, put one of the backs in the backfield, let your receivers do the damn work.
They're not.
Just air it out and have fun.
They're not set up that way. And,
they're not set up.
They're just.
You guys kind of are.
I know, but you're learning a specific game plan and a specific playbook throughout the offseason. You can't just all of a sudden switch it and just change game plan and play. I understand what you're saying because they do have those plays in the book. And so my thing is, if you're going to go into that mode, put Rashad next to Baker and spread the defense out, and then allow Baker to make the play at that point. Okay, look, that's what I'm saying. The box is empty, and they've had those plays, and those plays have worked.
That's what I'm saying,
they've done it, but you can't do it all. You can't do it the entire game. You got to sometimes be able to kind of put your head down and go and attack the defense from all sorts of different. Plus, play action doesn't work as well out of shotgun versus a traditional snap. So I get what you're saying. I want to see a little bit more of that.
Evans is down there somewhere, right?
But to JC's point, though, the quick hits. You know what I was saying? At the entire first quarter of that game against the Lions, I said, how come we don't just have 2 or 3 plays right off the bat that get Mike lathered up? Quick slant, right. Give me just anything, a quick hitch, a wide receiver screen, anything that gets Mike's hands warmed up, because it feels like the longer you wait to get Mike Evans involved, the more likely he gets cold and he has a couple of these drops that just, baffle your mind. Like waiting until the third down, 2 minutes before the end of the first quarter, and it's 3rd and 13 to throw the ball to him, it feels like it doesn't work out for us. Get him going early. Get him engaged. When he's engaged early, he's engaged the rest of the game. And that's not to say that he's not focused. It's just one of those things. Like you got to touch the ball sometimes when you play ball. JC, you play basketball. If you don't touch the ball that entire first quarter, then you're getting the set right out of the timeout at a 3. You're cold. You're cold.
You're cold and you're not confident.
Exactly.
But you listen, the offense has been down. It's been just hear me out. You go out there, shotgun, put Rashad in the backfield, block, help your interior line, line up trips. Let Palmer, Godwin, Evans put a streak route down there. Go have some fun in the first quarter. Go out there and see what they can do. Get some momentum moving on this offense.
They did that against the Saints. They kind of did that against the Saints.
Put some life back into that, man. You got to revive this offense at one point because it's starting to lull a little bit.
Well, that's kind of what Baker said.
We had one.
I want to see more of that Baker. Get your weight up, boy. That's what I want to see. And the next thing I want to bring up was,
jeez, Max takes the episode off. He's all jacked up on Mountain Dew.
I'm excited. I miss you boys. No, but this is all right. So I was at the game this past weekend, and I'm really not bringing this up to talk shit, but that again was a crowd that looked 50-50 to me. And then it's like this weekend, I'm going to the game. Atlanta
I will
to
be
Tampa.
at the game with Max.
Yeah, we're going together. This is my third game I'm going to this season. And all my Kansas City buddies are giving me
what Bucs
hell.
jersey are you going to wear this week, Max?
I don't even know, man. I don't know what to do at this point. I might wear my Chiefs jersey. But my point is you've got plenty of direct flights from Atlanta to Tampa. And I swear if I see the crowd that 50-50 again, it's time you guys got to implement some rules for the season ticket holders.
So yeah, I mean, yes, we've talked about in the past, and I've tweeted in the past, the Lightning pretty much keep it all Lightning fans in there, and they've had protocols in place. But the thing with, if you saw Baker Mayfield's press conference this week, they asked him what he thought about having all those Lions fans in the stadium, and he said, well, I hate to say it, Tampa's a really nice place to visit and have a vacation at. Come see a ball game. Like, I'll say this about Baker. He's polished on these press conferences. Like
he's slick.
He's a total commercial guy.
Slick,
I mean, he's a spokesman.
But
JC,
the problem, and I know Baker's saying that, and that's kind of a cliche answer, because the fact of the matter is a lot of those fans that you saw in that stadium, Max, that were wearing blue, they wear red and pewter almost every other week the Bucs have a home game. But they happen to be from Detroit, they happen to be from Michigan, or they happen to be from Green Bay, or whichever team is coming in from the north. If that's their home team that they grew up with, when they come here, they switch their colors for that week. I've seen it with my own eyes. I've seen Buffalo Bills fans wearing Bills gear that I've seen wear Bucs gear, and they're buying Buccaneers jerseys at halftime because they're season ticket holders.
Man, I can never say one thing where you are not going to back the damn Bucs.
I'm not backing the Bucs. I'm not backing them. No, I'm saying it's more embarrassing. It's not even the visiting team coming in from out of town. It is. There is some of that. But it's more embarrassing is that the team has these fans who are season ticket holders, and it's become their home team because they live here. But then when their actual original home team comes to town, they switch their colors. And that's what a lot of those Lions fans were, because I was surrounded by people that I've seen every single other home game wearing Buccaneers jerseys. And so I'm like, seriously, guys? Like, we've had guys like girlfriends and wives. Oh, I'm a Bucs fan, but when the Cowboys come to town, I put on the Cowboys jersey. What? Okay, I guess. It doesn't make any sense to me. And then there's people commenting on Twitter. Yeah, I wear a Orioles cap and a Rays shirt when I go to baseball games. I'm like, okay, man, that's weird, but okay. So I think there's a lot of that happening. But the Atlanta fans, I don't see a lot of Atlanta fans coming into our stadium every other year anyway. There's some, just not. It's not gonna be like what happened with Detroit. To answer your question.
So moving in, kind of tightening back it up to this weekend, we talked about the keys to victory. With this matchup specifically, is there anything you're worried about with this matchup? I know we can talk about you guys getting the run game established, Baker and Evans and Godwin getting, momentum going, shutting down the run game from the defensive side. Is there anything you're worried about this weekend with this matchup?
I really am not worried at all. I think Todd Bowles, the defensive coordinator, he's been in the past now a head coach, but he thrives against terrible quarterbacks like Ritter. I mean, he's going to force turnovers. He's going to make it hell for this guy on the field. And I don't like, it could be a close game, but I don't see the Bucs losing this game. I'm not worried. I'm pretty confident going into this. Obviously, I have a sour taste in my mouth from the Lions game because that could have been an easy W for the Bucs if just a couple passes are caught. Literally, that's ball game if 3 passes are caught.
Right.
So I'm not worried about this game.
Yeah, I'm kind of with JC on this. It's not like we're facing some sort of juggernaut of an offense. Their defense is okay. They have good defensive coaching. They have some pieces there, but again, they're not holding any teams to any sort of, offensive disasters to where they're pulling out wins. That defense is not winning games. And so the best player they have is Bijan, and what they played, I think 5 games now. and he has.
Don't they have the highest rated safety on PF? What's his name?
Yeah, they have Jesse Bates.
Bates
Bates is
Bates.
the top rated safety in the NFL right now.
They have Bijan Robinson 401 yards rushing. I mean, that's not terrible. It's not, he hasn't been some sort of like nonstop demolition, running back for them. He had one massive run against the Jaguars, and they end up getting blown out in that game. So it's, again, contain that one element.
And then they have potential next OJ Howard bust, Kyle Pitts.
Yeah.
And then they have Drake London, who's a good player. But, Sam and I talked about the cornerbacks, Carlton Davis and Jamel Dean. They're paid big money for a reason. They need to show up this weekend.
Yeah. The one thing that does concern me only slightly, is Bijan does catch a lot of balls out of the backfield. He's got like 26 receptions. I think he's leading the team right now, tied with one of their.
He's multifaceted.
Yeah, but
he can do it all.
Didn't Alvin Kamara just have 13 receptions against us, and he was basically stuffed to like?
Bijan's a little bit more dynamic because Bijan can run you over. So I think Levante needs to continue playing what he's been doing, and then Devin White.
You guys are both right. It's just, you guys are both right. This is something I do want to throw out there. There's been one game this year for the Bucs that I hammered the bet on. It was against the Saints. I love the Bucs this weekend.
Wow.
I love the Bucs this weekend. Last weekend, I was a little uncertain, a little shaky. I love the Bucs this weekend.
Max, do you want to address your tweet that you put out about Baker Mayfield?
Which one?
The one where you said he only has a cannon. He can't drop it in the basket.
Am I wrong?
F you guys.
Am I wrong?
No. Yeah, you are wrong.
How many wide open touchdowns did he miss last weekend?
He missed 3.
So if Baker would have connected on those 3 touchdowns,
said,
would we be having a different conversation? Would you guys be having a different record right now?
Those are 40, 45-yard passes down the field.
The
big boys make those passes.
And Baker has in the past. I mean,
with who?
No, Max, the percentages on those throws aren't just Baker's percentages or Patrick Mahomes' percent. They're every quarterback in the league's percentages. They are low percentage throws. One of those, he absolutely missed him. Another one, I could easily argue that Trey Palmer should have continued running and not put his hands out 5 yards beforehand, okay? Yeah. The other one, to Chris Godwin, he couldn't even step up in his throw because he had a guy in his lap. He had a pressure right in his face. Like there's context. 51%. There's context to everything.
For completion percentage.
He had a bad game, Max.
Passer rating of 56.
Max, did you watch?
When you guys are turning blue in the face to protect
We're
a
not
guy,
protecting a guy because there's a context to it. When you were watching that game, Max, did you see any wide open receivers outside of these 2 or 3 passes you're talking about? Did you see anybody not drape?
He made some great throws in the game that people just forget about because they want to focus on the negatives. And also, like, if you want to bring up this,
focusing on the negatives, I'm just opening up your eyes.
If you bring up the point of Baker having a bad game, do you think Chargers fans are suddenly going to call for Justin Herbert's head because he had an awful,
this is a Bucs podcast. This is a Bucs podcast. Let's keep it to a Bucs podcast.
It's a very valid point.
How about Patrick Mahomes? How about Patrick Mahomes this season?
He's been off, but we're 5-1. This is a
That's not the point of it.
I'd be the first one to admit that he's been off, but we're 5-1.
Yeah,
and
we're about to be 4-2, first place in the NFC South on our way to the playoffs.
Listen, they're
like Albright said,
boys.
Albright said
to the listeners, this is what happens when I miss one podcast.
Here's the thing: Max probably didn't listen to the Albright episode. If you listen to Albright, who's a quarterback expert, how confident he is in Baker Mayfield as a player, he's like, you guys should be building around Mayfield for the next 3 years. He's like, this guy's a baller. I'm like, yes, thank you, 100%. He's like, everyone has a bad game.
Do you think Mahomes has less or more than what Baker
Mahomes
has
has
right now?
Andy Reid as a play caller.
You're comparing 2 totally different things, Max.
Max,
you're comparing 2 different players. You're comparing 2 different systems. You're comparing 2 different styles. You're comparing 2 different environments.
Well, if we give a precursor on how this debate got started on Twitter, it was because JC went after me about how much the Bucs would wax. Sammer, you're laughing right now. And then we were sitting there because I came over to his house after the game and we had a couple adult beverages. And I go, swear on my life, all things considered after that beatdown, who would win that game? So me defending the Chiefs right now in this conversation, that's where this is coming from.
I don't give a shit about the Chiefs, okay? It has nothing to do with the Chiefs.
Why are you guys always grinning right now?
The point is, because you're like, he threw food at me first in the cafeteria, so that's why I threw food at him.
Get back on track.
That's all.
Let's get back on track.
Let's dial this back in.
All right. So we discussed keys to victory. We discussed areas of concern. Do you guys have any final thoughts going into this weekend versus the Falcons?
Well, I just think, like I said to start the podcast, they just got to create turnovers by Ritter. I mean, absolutely harass him all game, and that's an easy W.
Yeah, get after Ritter and get Chris Godwin rolling. This is his game. I think he has another one of those. He has another Saints type performance this Sunday, and they let him get hot. He's kind of been the missing link in this offense. They're not looking at him enough. They're not kind of getting him involved. And let's do that. Let's use our weapons.
And if I need to make a prediction here, Kalijah Cansey 2 sacks in this game.
Okay, I like that.
Yeah. So I think as long as the Bucs shut down the run game, and I want, like I've said this last few weeks, I want to see Baker air it out. I want to see Baker get that arm moving. That's what I like to see. So moving along, let's get into the pick 6. Just an updated standings. I had a rough week last week. I went 2-4, but the overall standings, Max Cavallari 20-5, JC 18-7, went 2-4 last week. Sammer 3-3 last week. Jake, I thought you were 1% in the entire world. You went 1-5.
Yeah,
but moving along.
Tough week.
It was a tough week. My bank account heard that one. You guys ready to go? Who wants to kick it off? I will. Sammer, you have the honors, man. You were 3-3. All right. So Hank the Tank picked Browns -2.5 at the Colts. Who do you like here?
Oh man, I'm going with the Browns and continue to ride that defense, especially off that massive win last week. And the Colts don't have a quarterback. I don't care about this Minshew, Uncle Rico guy. Taking Browns all day on this, and I don't even think this is going to be close. I think they probably win by 10 points, honestly. This is going to be
I think this is an easy spread to take. I think this is an easy game. Browns -2.5. I think I saw Deshaun Watson was practicing, getting ready to go for this game. That defense on the Browns, and that you can just tell the whole team just is dialed in with each other, love each other, like having fun on defense. I think that's an easy win for Cleveland.
They beat the Niners with PJ Walker.
I agree. I don't think this is going to be close. You guys summed up everything I would have said. All right, moving along. Game 2. We've got Commanders -2.5 at the Giants. JC, I'll let you kick this one off.
This is a kind of weird game to pick. This is, once again, we don't know if Daniel Jones is playing or if it's Tyrod Taylor, so it kind of makes it a little interesting.
Does it make a difference, though? Danny Dimes sucks.
He does suck. But, the Commanders, you never know if, like with the Commanders, like the most frustrating thing is you never know if like Terry McLaurin's going to have 7 receptions for 100 yards or like one reception for 10 yards. It's like you never know what's going to happen with that offense. I'm going to take Commanders -2.5.
Yeah, JC kind of nailed a lot of stuff I was going to say is you don't know which of your quarterbacks is going to show up and if Terry's going to be, the guy or just an afterthought that doesn't even get looked at. So it's a division game, so it's a little bit tough to pick, just because, again, these division games, especially in that division, they kind of come up, they're a big deal and they play each other pretty competitively, but can't put any trust on anything the Giants are doing right now. So I got to take Commanders 2.5 as well.
I think, honestly, I was going to pick the Commanders, but now that I hear you guys doing that, just to cause, a little fight here, I'm going to take the Giants. Say Saquon gets moving, figures it out, whatever. I'll take the Giants just for shits and giggles.
Could happen.
Yeah. All right, moving along. Game 3. We've got Lions at the Ravens. Ravens are -3. Sammer, what do you think?
The Ravens are favored here, which is very odd.
I thought the same thing,
it's
man.
Kind of a weird.
I thought the same thing.
And I don't understand why, because they haven't shown me anything.
Your defense is hot, man.
Yeah, I know, but the Lions right now are hot, and Goff is starting to kind of try to prove that he can play on the road.
Goff's in the MVP race right now.
Yeah, it's just
last week was too, dude.
Man, this was a tough one to call, man, just because the Ravens are at home. So I've seen the Ravens kind of disappoint more than I have seen them, kind of meet expectations week in and week out. I do like what they're doing with Zay Flowers. He finally scored a touchdown last week. I'll take the Ravens at home. Why not? Let's take the Ravens at home. It's going to piss me off because the Bucs could have probably beat the Lions if this is the case. So I'll take the line. I'll take the Ravens at home -3.
I'm following your lead, Sammer. I'm going to keep it short and simple. I'm going Ravens as well.
I was going to go Ravens. Now that you guys both went Ravens, I'm going to pull a Max. The only concerning thing with the Lions is that David Montgomery got injured.
Yes.
So we don't even know if Jahmyr Gibbs is playing. And then you have Craig Reynolds, the third string running back that laid out that monstrous block against the Bucs. I'm going to go with the Lions here on the road and take the points.
I was always a Dan Campbell fan. Now the guy's starting to annoy me. I know it's weird, but he's just starting to bug me.
You don't like me, man?
It could be because they beat us. It could be because
they beat us.
All right.
What?
No, Chiefs, week 1.
No more Chiefs talk.
No more
Chiefs
talk.
He said us. I thought you meant the Bucs.
All right, we got game number 4. Steelers at Rams. Rams are -3. I will kick this one off. I'm going to take the Rams -3.
Agreed.
Yeah, I'm taking Rams -3 as well. Steelers, I think it might be time for a new head coach over there. I'm going to take Rams -3.
That's a bold statement.
Cooper Kupp. I know because he's been there forever, but I feel like it's always.
I love Tomlin.
Listen, he came from the Tampa Bay coaching tree. I've always been a fan of him, but I just feel like they always have the same issues, and
they're healthy too this week. I think.
I don't know. I like the Rams.
Yeah, I think a lot of times when you have a coach that's somewhere for the very, very, very long time, the message grows a little bit stale, and sometimes you gotta bring in a different voice. Not to
Belichick.
Belichick, yeah, but that guy's he's an exception to the rule. I mean, Andy Reid's was with Philadelphia forever, and they had to let him go. Now he's with the Chiefs forever, so it's kind of the same thing, but a little bit different. But I'm with JC here. The Rams, absolutely the Rams on this one. I would definitely anticipate that they'd win the game by more than 3 points.
All right, moving along. Game 5, Cardinals at Seahawks. Seattle -7. Sammer, I'll let you kick this one off.
Seattle -7. Yeah, the Cardinals have come back down to earth. They are no longer, a Cinderella team. They're playing hard still, but they just don't have the pieces or the talent to compete with any of the upper echelon teams. The Seahawks are one of those teams. So Seahawks, absolutely. And I'll take the points.
Yeah, I mean, Seattle, probably one of the hardest places you can play in the NFL. Seattle at home, -7. I wish it was 6.5, but I'll take Seattle here. Kenneth Walker just probably has a huge game.
I'm going to follow your guys' lead. Going back to my old rule of thumb, the team that's given up a lot of points, typically bet them. I know this is only, it's 7, but I'm going to go the Hawks as well. All right. Next game, last game, we've got Packers -1 going into Denver. So I will kick this one off. I'm actually going to go Broncos here. I think the Broncos, they played the Chiefs really tough. I'm going to go Broncos at home. Take the point.
I will be taking Packers -1 here. Just listening to Albright on the podcast, his lack of confidence in Sean Payton, lack of confidence in just coaching overall and the roster. I mean, it could be a fire sale over there. I'll take the Packers.
Yeah, the Broncos played their Super Bowl last week against the Chiefs. So I don't anticipate that they're going to have the same energy and the same resolve this week against the Packers team. Is going to probably try to get Aaron Jones rolling again and get him back on track, get their running game going so they can help out Jordan Love. I'll take the Packers -1 here.
All right, boys. Well, that sums it up. Just to run through the pick 6, we've got Browns -2.5 at Colts, Commanders -2.5 at Giants, Lions at Ravens. Ravens are -3, Steelers at Rams, Rams -3, Cardinals at Seahawks. Seahawks are -7, Packers -1 at Broncos. Guys, please follow us on everything on social media, Apple, Spotify, Twitter. I've got JC Cornell, Samra Ali. Boys, any final thoughts? We good?
Get my boy Chris Godwin the ball, please. Let's go.
Bucs by 21.
Oh.
Happy Thursday. I hope everybody has a great weekend. Week 7, Falcons and Bucs. Go Bucs. I will see you guys at the games. Have a good one.